Ayanda Nyathi, my co-anchor, is on the election floor. Let's take you there live now. He'll give us a better sense of what the leaderboard is saying. Ayanda.
Absolutely. Michelle, thanks very much indeed. We're live to you from the floor here at the Results Operations Center in Tshwane. And you're absolutely right. So many moving parts. And part of the big conversation this morning is trying to reflect on the reasons behind why the IEC may have missed its own deadline when it comes to ensuring that enough of the results are in. And this deadline, might I add, hasn't been missed by a small margin. 90% were hoping would be the number of votes counted so far. We're not even on 60%. Ziyanda Ngcobo is our senior politics reporter who's been watching these developments for quite some time. She's actually also with me here on the floor of the Rock, as is commonly known. And here we are again, 24 hours later, Ziyanda. We had hoped to know a whole lot more now than we do.
Absolutely, and if you listen to those who do projections such as the CSIR and the likes, it's going to be very difficult to even get projections at this stage, only at 58%, of how the smaller political parties will do. And I think the reason why there's emphasis on the smaller political parties and independent candidates is, of course, because in the hung councils, which so far it seems like in areas such as Ekurhuleni, city of Johannesburg and Tshwane, the ANC and DA are neck and neck. Therefore, there is going to be a lot of reliance on the smaller political parties and the newcomers on the block, such as Action SA, to determine then the course of those municipalities, remembering as well, Ayanda, that having a coalition government does not necessarily translate into the better delivery of services in these municipalities. And I think this is why then messages from parties like Action SA, who have categorically stated that they would not enter into a coalition government with the ANC, are important for, the constituencies which they were targeting at the time. Because of the fact that you'll recall the criticism that was leveled against the DA, which said that they wouldn't necessarily be opposed to working with the ANC, where in essence people were saying that, oh, my vote for the DA is ultimately then a vote for the ANC. And such is the nature then of the political landscape within our country right now. But certainly I think it doesn't bode well for the IEC not to stick to its own deadline, given how much criticism has been leveled against the IEC by analysts, by political parties across the board. I mean, I spoke to the spokesperson of the UDM yesterday, who said in no uncertain terms that the IEC has fumbled like never before.
Wow.
So there's clearly a credibility issue here with the IEC. Sometimes we do need to be careful, though, Ayanda, when political parties criticize a Chapter 9 institution such as the IEC because of how this affects our democracy, and how this affects then how the public views an independent body such as the IEC. However, there is something to be said about how they've been seen to have been on the defense when it comes to some of the criticism leveled against them. It's not just one part, it's not just the bigger parties, it's the small parties, it's across the board, Ayanda. And I think, the IEC is just going to have to explain what exactly happened there. Was it because of the load shedding that took place yesterday that's affecting the slow the slow pace at which the counting is taking place? We need answers.
Absolutely. And we'll speak a bit more about the ways through which the IEC defended itself yesterday in that late night briefing. I just want to look over our shoulder very quickly and take a glance at what those results are looking like nonetheless. I mean, 58% is what we have currently. The ANC is still in the lead with 46% of the voter support. The Democratic Alliance behind them at 22% and 10% for the Economic Freedom Fighters. That order is unlikely to change. The question now becomes how much of a proportion these different parties will be able to retain.
Absolutely, and I think the reason why we've spent a lot of time looking at, for instance, the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance is because of how it seems, and not just seems, according to me, but according to the CSIR, that both these political parties are likely to drop in this particular election, Ayanda, because of how other smaller parties, I mean, we didn't have good during the 2016 local government elections, for an example. We didn't have Action SA as well being a player. The National Freedom Party also making some gains in KwaZulu-Natal, taking over one of the municipalities there. And so there's a lot of movement when it comes to the smaller parties really being given a chance by the electorate. But remembering that we're all anticipating a low voter turnout, so the base in and of itself is quite low, Ayanda. So not a fundamental shift, but I think for the top three political parties, it won't bode well when you have smaller parties now actually eating into your core constituency, because that speaks to the trust and the messaging and whether or not the electorate is receiving it quite well.
Absolutely, Ziyanda, Ngcobo, thanks very much indeed for that much needed context. So we'll keep watching these numbers, get you a sense of how the developments might affect the final outcome of this election come, I assume, Thursday at this count. The IEC, as you know by now, set to give their own updates sometime throughout the course of this morning. That time is yet to be confirmed. As soon as it is, of course, we'll let you know right here on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405.